As discussions between NASCAR and its teams over money allocations from a new broadcast agreement continue, emotions are rising among drivers like Denny Hamlin and others who have smashed down on NASCAR because of the lack of progress in the ongoing negotiations. Hamlin replied angrily on X to part-time driver Landon Cassill's claim that there is too much fat among Cup Series teams right now. On the Money Lap podcast with Parker Kligerman and Landon Cassill, Cassill stated the following: NASCAR is not making you hire 100 engineers. NASCAR is not making you rent private jets. NASCAR is not making you spend $250K on a pit box. Denny Hamlin fired back on X, defending the team's side of the story. About 8 engineers, he wrote, no private jet, 13M hard cost, 5M to be competitive. We could cut some aesthetic cost. However, have you seen 3/4 of Xfinity Garage? Amazing experience that would be for our sponsors. The point Hamlin was making was that it requires money to field competitive Cup Series teams. There has been significant discussion regarding how much money that is, and that is where the problem with NASCAR lies. Denny Hamlin followed up with a detailed explanation of his original responses to Cassill and the Money Lap podcast. Well, lots of thoughts, Hamlin began. First, 18M is just for the car on the track to put on this show each and every week. No driver. Seems as though you think it's excessive. Well, we, teams, opened our books to NASCAR to show what exactly that money was spent on, and that it was not excessive. NASCAR executives agreed. You mentioned that anything we make beyond 18M is profit. That would be incorrect. As someone who started a team from scratch and kept it as lean as I could, there are many other depths at a race team that are necessary to operate. Business, marketing, sponsorship, social media, it goes on and on. That all cost a significant amount of money that is above and beyond the numbers listed above. That money is spent as not only as a necessity for our team, but to grow the sport through on and off the track activation. Hopefully this is helpful when debating this topic. NASCAR does not necessarily want to finance bells and whistles like as private jets and luxury pit boxes, but it does want to reach a fair agreement with teams while maintaining its interests. To that reason, there was some criticism of Denny Hamlin's statements. One X user grabbed a screenshot of Hamlin's private plane and shared a tale about how he utilized it. Hamlin replied in kind. That belongs to the driver of the 11, Hamlin wrote, not the owner of 2312. On a brighter note, Kligerman, the podcast's co-host with Cassill, joked with Hamlin, adding, I'm on the side of whatever gets private jets into Xfinity. Denny Hamlin just remarked, you're gonna need more revenue, boss. At the end of the day, that's what the negotiations with NASCAR come down to. What is a reasonable income allocation that ensures the teams are taken care of while NASCAR retains a sizable portion of a rich pie? Expect tensions to persist until a compromise is reached. And this is frustrating the drivers. They aren't sure what to expect, and time is ticking for NASCAR. Hamlin has been the most open about his dissatisfaction with the way discussions, or lack thereof, have progressed. Hamlin said that every plan NASCAR has made to teams has been worse than the one before it. When a result, work is stalled when time runs out. The current charter agreement expires at the end of the 2024 Cup Series season. According to Hamlin, teams have requested NASCAR to reimburse their running costs. To this date, NASCAR has not budged. We're trying to make it more simple, and we're trying to go to NASCAR and say, let's lock arms, let's do this together. We'll give you these rights to go shop for us. That way, when you go get an official sponsor, it goes to all of us. Same as with the NBA, the NFL, MLB does, Hamlin said. When they go get a league sponsor, every team gets a little piece of that, and then the league gets a portion as well. It's not like in NASCAR. We compete for the same sponsors that NASCAR does. We have our own sponsors that NASCAR will send their own sponsorship proposal to try to get them to spend money with them. And it's like, but we need them the most because of our business model. It costs us $18 million a year to put a car on the racetrack. We've asked NASCAR to just cover our costs. Nothing more? Just cover our costs to go put on this show for you. And the answer has been repeatedly no. You will get what we give you, and you will like it. And so if you don't, then don't be a part of this. And if this all isn't enough, Hamlin also has a problem with the current NextGen cars. He's really going after NASCAR, isn't he? What are your thoughts on the charter agreement problems? Do you understand that the drivers are fed up with waiting? Moving on to those car problems. Denny Hamlin alleged that NASCAR has a physics problem with the NextGen cars. which affects drivers' ability to pass in races. When it comes to cars, passing is obviously important. But when the cars themselves make it much more difficult and do not allow for creativity or drama in the race, Hamlin's got it. The difficulty, as Hamlin expressed it, is physics. That is the big difference between Xfinity and Cup, is that Cup, the closer you get to them, your car takes off. Hamlin explained, you lose all downforce, it's done. The closer you get to the car in front of you in Xfinity, and what we saw Riley Herbst and many others do, is that as soon as you get close to the rear of the car, they start losing rear downforce, and then they get off the bottom, and they shuck them. And that's what we used to do with the Gen 4 car and 5 car, is that we could always get the guy in front of us loose. Now you can't do that because they are not making any overbody aerodynamics, and it's all underbody. So you're not able to take air off their spoiler because there's not hardly any air going on the spoiler in the first place. We got a physics problem. I wish they would just let us come up with our own package for that track just one time and let us decide what we're gonna run. We're in such a weird spot where the leader has such an advantage on that track because he's got the clean air, Denny Hamlin said after the Brickyard 400. You can run so much faster when you have the clean air. And we all know these next-gen cars are terrible in traffic. They're the worst cars in NASCAR in traffic. So when we designed them, we designed a car that is worse than it's ever been in traffic. That mix has resulted in some fascinating Cup Series races. And it's not as if NASCAR hasn't had some really fascinating and riveting races this season. They just look different. Hamlin stated that he had a hunch that these next-gen cars will be a challenge, and his assessment appears to be correct. I asked them three times I asked John Probst before this car came out, are you sure it's right? Because you haven't put it around any other cars during these preseason testings, Hamlin said. Then finally in December before they launched the car, they put it on track with another car, and they see that it's, oh shit, we've got a problem. Well, no kidding. You had 2 years to figure this out. God, it's frustrating as hell. At this point, Hamlin, one of the circuit's most skilled drivers, thinks there is a physics issue in the sport. What does that mean moving forward? Anyone's guess? Chris kept telling me, you know, it's really close, Hamlin said of in-race discussion. We're kind of right there. And so, I don't know, yes, certainly when I knew if he was going to have to ask me to pass anyone in that final stage. It was just not going to happen. It's just physics. I think Chase Elliott went off during the course of the race. He's like, you know, if you can give me a physics button, you know, that'd be great. You know, because if you can figure out how to pass, then it'll be game on. So at this point, Hamlin and everyone else are in a race to find out science. What are your thoughts on the state of the current next-gen cars? Do you think they are too hard to navigate for the drivers? And are all complaints from Denny Hamlin and the other drivers reasonable? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.